morning. Please join me and stand if you'd like for our first hymn, Just As Long As I Have Breath, number 6 in the hymnal. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Wasn't that a beautiful start to our service? We've put Everett into the mix today, and he is just adding to the beautiful music we always have here. So thank you so much, Everett. I'm looking forward to hearing you again throughout the service. Well, good morning to all of you, too. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, and thank you for braving what's turned out to me to be some surprisingly difficult neighborhoods to get out of, with icy walkways and icy driveways and icy neighborhood roads. So I'm glad you braved it and are here with us in person this morning. And for all those who wisely stayed home, and we've got the daredevils, the real daredevils are here in the building. But we're glad to have all of you who are streaming with us as well this morning. So great to have everyone here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and live justly, or work for justice, either one. So welcome again to each and every one of you. We like to begin by welcoming all that you come with, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your experiences, your lifestyle, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. So welcome to one and all, whether you're here in person or live streaming with us this morning. It's great to have all of you. It's great to have Doug here with us too. Hi, Doug. He just came in, so it's kind of an interesting phenomenon because, since COVID, we don't have as many people in house ever as we used to. A lot of folks have continued to stream. And the folks that are in house, they just happen to sit back far enough to where the one camera that is a wide shot just gets these empty seats up front. So everybody watching thinks I'm crazy, that he's just talking to himself. There's 4 people if you look at the camera. Yeah, so that's great. But that's okay. Sit where you want, unless we turn off the heat and force you to snuggle together, which we're not going to do. So one thing I wanted to let you know at the start of our service before we greet one another is this will actually be my last Sunday until March. I'm going to take a month off in February. And it just so happens next Sunday is my regular Sunday out of the pulpit, so I won't see you for a while. I'm going to be hibernating and chilling out and, centering and all that stuff that one does when one takes a break. However, there are going to be some outstanding services in my stead. We have an incredible guest speaker team that works really hard to get outstanding speakers from our community. I don't even know, I can't even remember everyone who's going to be here, but Jacob Johns, for those who know Jacob, who he's an incredible activist and has been a member of our church for many years. Of course, he had that terrible incident where he was shot at a demonstration a couple of months ago, and he's still healing from that, but nevertheless, he's, even with his open wounds, he's traveling the world doing his stuff to make the world a better place. He'll be here in person in February. One of our members, Gordon Diddens, is going to deliver a sermon that apparently is the first sermon I ever gave at this church, or close to it. So we'll see who I was 13 years ago. And then some other interesting folks from the community. So I hope that you will continue to show up and support our congregation, but also really as a way of showing thanks to the team for working so hard to get outstanding speakers. And it will go by very fast, I know, because I about every couple of years I take a month off, and it goes by really fast. So I'll see you again real soon. And I will look forward to that, but I'll also appreciate the break. So, so that's it. And for now, why don't we take a few seconds to greet one another, say hi to some old friends, make some new friends today, and if you're just joining us for the first time, please don't be shy. Ton of them under there today.
Which one are you going to do today?
I'm going to do all of them. I'm going to get some I'm going to have some volunteers help me.
Should I?
Yeah. You want to do the eagle? Okay. All right.
Wait, are you supposed to?
Huh? No, it's just like this. You could use both hands, but what I do is make these two my wings. And I put my middle finger here, and my pointy here. Then I have my thumb here and my ring, and so. How are you?
I hear about my new status.
Oh, good.
That's great.
What's that?
That's good.
No, what's your new status? Is it the 24th? Are you moving here? Oh, yes, I am aware of that. Yes, congratulations. Wow. Okay, yeah. Let me see it. Nice.
This is given to me at the Boulder, Colorado Unitarian Church in February of 71.
Hey, now you've been here 50 years exactly? More than 50.
I've also
Yeah, I'm going to be a helper.
I'm going to get it started here, but good. Thanks for letting me know. All right, more opportunity as always to visit after our service during social hour, but we will move forward now. But before we light our chalice, This just in, this special report was handed to me while you were visiting. Actually, no, Steve Johnson came up and let me know that go ahead and stand up, Steve, if you want. So this Wednesday during our board meeting, I'm quite confident the board will vote Steve in as one of our lifetime members, having been here more than 50 years. I won't be here to let you know next Sunday, so Steve asked if I would make that announcement today, and I'm absolutely honored to. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. And we will light our chalice now. And when we do our candles of care, we'll even light a candle in honor of Steve's wonderful time with us here. So we light this chalice, again, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, our openness and our inclusion of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
As the daughter of a diplomat, I've always been interested in the Middle East. As some of you may recall, I lived in Rabat, Morocco as a teenager and studied Arabic there at a large high school where the Catholic daughters of French colonialists mingled with the Muslim daughters of the Moroccan elite, plus 2 French-speaking Protestant girls from the U.S. Embassy. That's one of the reasons I signed up last fall for an online course, Why Palestine Matters, offered by UUs for Justice in the Middle East. The course was startlingly timely. It began just before Hamas's brutal attack on Israel on October 7th, followed by Israel's horrific counterattack on Gaza. For many Americans, awareness of this issue only started on October 7th and was influenced by reactions to pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian demonstrations here. But this conflict actually began over a century ago. It's a cynical story with no just resolution. The recommended reading for the UU course is the book that I think all Americans should read. It's called The 100 Years' War on Palestine. Its author, Rashid Khalidi, is a professor of modern Arab studies at Columbia University. A descendant of Palestinian aristocracy, his uncle was the mayor of Jerusalem in the 1930s. Khalidi's book rose to number 3 on the New York Times' bestseller list after October 7th. Khalidi interweaves the story of his prominent family with the tragic clash between 2 peoples claiming the same land. He describes Britain's support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine, cynically motivated in part by a desire to prevent the settlement of displaced Jews in Britain. He describes the terrors of the 1948 Nakba, the Arab term for catastrophe, when Zionists, following a unilateral British withdrawal, slaughtered and displaced 750,000 Palestinians, including his grandparents, who lost their home near Tel Aviv. He analyzes the role of the United States in backing an increasingly right-wing Israeli state. It's a complex story, and Khalidi doesn't spare criticism of leadership failures on the Palestinian side. I'm glad that Reverend Eckloff is taking on this fraught subject today. In the past, our church's efforts to listen to critics of Israeli policy and to view films on the escalating mistreatment of Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank has been met by fury by some local Jewish leaders who brook no criticism of Israel. They would silence us by equating that criticism with anti-Semitism, which it is not. Americans pay dearly through our taxes for military and other support of Israel, and it is our right as Unitarians and as U.S. citizens to criticize a foreign government that continues to suppress the civil rights of half of its inhabitants, 7 million Arabs. We will continue our dialogue on this subject. With the support of the Inland Northwest Coalition for Palestine Liberation, a branch of the UU's Justice Justice in the Middle East, and our own social justice team, we'll be bringing a new film series on Palestine to you on Sunday afternoons starting next week. Disregard today's bulletin. It says it starts today, but it starts next Sunday at 4 o'clock. So for 4 o'clock for subsequent Sundays from late January through February, we will be bringing you a different film on what's going on in Israel. The films are not going to be streamed during the 4 p.m. presentations, but you can watch them at home. So details will be in the Sun, so please join us for that.
Please stand and join me for Spirit of Life, number 123. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you so much. And it's now time to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. And we're going to begin with a candle on behalf of the people of Ukraine and that region of the world, as well as the Israelis and Palestinians and all who are suffering from the terrible violence going on in our world at this time. Also, a candle for church member Kirk Workmaster and his family. Kirk's still obviously dealing with the tremendous loss of his wife Tanya and dealing with his own very serious health issues. And let's light a candle of celebration for Steve Johnson too. Again, Steve, it's remarkable to have you have been part of our congregation so long, and congratulations to your lifetime status. Let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. This is the third Sunday of the month, and we like to take up a special collection each month for an organization that we have an affinity with in our community. And this month's special collection is on behalf of the Odyssey Youth Movement. The Odyssey Youth Movement promotes equality for LGBTQ youth in Spokane and the region through youth-driven programs and community education, and drop-in programs that include meals and snacks and programs and supplies, and a basic needs program that gives participants access to hygiene supplies, bus passes, and food for an entire household. And the Inclusive Schools program through Odyssey also works with local gender and sexuality alliances across the country to encourage safe and affirming schools here in our community for all young people. I know this is an organization we have often supported in this community and does a lot of great work. It is, I think, particularly important to show our support at this time, as they've recently, you may have heard in the news, come under some attack by folks who wanted to discriminate against LGBTQ folks. So if you do want to contribute, there's an envelope in your order of service, special collection envelope. Please put your contribution in that. You don't have to seal that envelope. We can reuse it later, but we'll know what it's for if it's in there. So thank you so much in advance for your generosity and your continued compassion. If you're online, you can always go onto our website and contribute to this at any time. Just note that that's what it's for. So thanks again for your generosity. We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head down and cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Thank you both so much for warming the place up for us. Some bright singing and playing. It's time now for our story for all ages. So if those of you who are in the room of any age want to come up and sit on the floor, The comfortable floor. It is a comfortable floor, isn't it? It's unusually comfortable. Okay, so I need some volunteers today. Yes? You're not going to do it? You don't want to? Okay. All right. So I need some puppeteers. You sure you don't want to be a puppeteer? Okay. All right. Okay. But you come up. You can be a volunteer. Okay. You want to be the eagle. Okay. Go ahead. Put them on whatever hands you want. Now, do you want to be a lion, a bear, or a dog? A bear. Oh, good one. Good one. Okay. Put your hand right in there. There's the mouth. Can you do that? Okay. All right. Anybody want to be a lion? Any taker? You want to be a lion? Yay! Okay. You're on your own. Okay. Karen, you want to be a dog?
Thank you. Yeah.
Since you put it that way. Okay, so you'll know when you're supposed to come up here, okay? You're going to start. It's actually going to be bear, lion, eagle, dog.
Again, mine.
Okay?
We'll make this
So
consistent.
I'll tell you what, though, what you can do. Just come over here. You can all stand right here. Okay, good. Now, we also need a tree with a hole in it. Okay? So here's a tree with a hole in it. Okay? So you'll know what to do. All you have to do is move the mouth like it's talking when I cue you. Okay? Make sense? All right. And here's my puppet. So you'll just take turns walking up to the tree. Make sense? You can kind of step up and let the next person know when it's time, but you can stay right there for now. And I have the best puppet of all. It's the most beautiful one here. Don't you think? Isn't it gorgeous? So this is a song that's adapted from a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. And I can't remember how much of it was theirs and how much of it is mine at this point. But this is about a songbird, colorful songbird that had the most beautiful voice of all songbirds, and it loved to sing as it went through the woods. Isn't that wonderful? Almost puts me to sleep every time I hear it. So the singing attracted a huge, hungry bear. There it is. And the bear came and said, "How well you sing. Will you teach me how?" Very good. You did a great job. "Of course," said the songbird, not letting itself be fooled. "Just do as I say. Put your paw into this tree hole." And the bird quickly grabbed a rock and jammed it into the tree hole, and the bear was lodged in and stuck against the trunk of the tree and couldn't get away. And the songbird was free to continue on its journey, singing its beautiful melodies. So beautiful, in fact, that they soon caught the attention of a hungry lion. Now the lion can come over. Okay. And the hungry lion said, "How beautiful you sing. Will you teach me how?" "Of course," said the songbird, again not letting itself be fooled. "Just do as I say and put your paw in this tree hole next to that bear." And he quickly grabbed another rock and shoved it in, and now the lion's trapped against the tree as well, freeing the songbird to go about its merry way, singing its beautiful song throughout the forest. Music to my ears. And then it caught the attention of a hungry eagle, and the eagle swooped down and said, "My, what a beautiful singing voice you have. Would you teach me how to sing?" "Of course," said the songbird, not being fooled. just stick your wing inside the hole in that tree to begin. And it grabbed another rock and shoved it in, and now the eagle is also trapped in the tree, freeing the bird to go about the forest, filling it with the sounds of its beautiful harmonies. Well, the other animals eventually worked their way free. And they were very angry at the songbird and decided they'd go looking for it. But in the meantime, the songbird decided to get a very large pet dog. Yes, and once the other animals saw the big dog, they decided they better just leave the songbird alone, and they left and never bothered it again, leaving the songbird free to sing its songs whenever it wanted. And they all lived happily ever after. Yay, thank you. Give a hand to our actors, impromptu. That's what we call improvisation. Thank you guys, you did great. Oh, I guess we'll sing our children to Ari, yeah? Good, why not?
As we prepare for meditation, I invite you to breathe deeply and reflect on a segment of a poem by Palestinian poet. See half an orange, half an apple, half my mother's face with my remaining eye.
Oh, Shenandoah, I long to hear you. Away, you rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to hear you. Away, I'm bound away, cross the wide Oh, Shenandoah, I love your daughter. Away, you rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I love your daughter. Away, I'm bound away, cross the wide Oh, Shenandoah, I'm bound to leave you. Away, you rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I'm bound to leave I'm bound away across the wide Missouri. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you. Away, you rolling river. Oh, Shenandoah, I long to see you. Away, I'm bound away across the wide Missouri.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Just, yes, the true songbirds were just performed, I believe, so thank you. A few months ago in August, I came across a headline. Father shoots driver of a car that crashed into and killed his son. It was such a horrific story that I avoided reading it. But it has continued to disturb me ever since. I imagined what it was like to be the person responsible for the accident, knowing that he was responsible for ending someone else's life, only to suddenly find himself staring into the barrel of a gun, one of the last things he'd ever see. As a father, I also felt incredible empathy for the man who, in a state of unthinkable shock, grief, and anger, reacted from a place of raw emotion without any thought, committing an act that would only add to this tragedy. I wish he hadn't been carrying a gun at the time. And I didn't want to know any more about the incident than what that haunting headline had already stated, and I wish that I'd never seen it. But as I began to work on this morning's message, I realized that this story is the best way to begin discussing what's now going on in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas, and what's happening to the innocents caught in the crossfire. So I looked the story up online, and here's what I learned. On Monday, August 13th, 2023, around 6:30 a.m., Chad Woods and his teenage son were walking along Drink Ashley Road in Timberlake, North Carolina, heading home after their car had run out of gas when the teenager was struck and killed by a pickup truck. The driver of the truck stopped and called 911 when Woods pulled out a gun and shot him several times. He then tossed the gun into a nearby pond and drove the dead man's truck home, leaving both bodies in the street. According to Woods' own father, he was completely out of his mind when he arrived, repeatedly saying, "He just killed my son, he killed my son." Jeff McKay, the man Woods shot to death, was a 39-year-old employee of the North Carolina Department of Corrections, originally from Portsmouth, Virginia. His obituary described him as a great, caring man who was loved by many. Jeff loved everyone he knew and wanted to help all he could. He would jump into action for anyone who asked. A loving, kind soul that loved to fish, grill, and hang out with his family and friends. He had an infectious smile and could light up a room with his laugh. McKay leaves behind his wife, Jessica, and their 2-year-old daughter. The teenager, Chad Edwards Edward Woods II was only 17 years old and was born in Orange County, North Carolina. His obituary says simply, he leaves to cherish precious memories his parents, Chad and Crystal Minor Woods, 3 brothers, Charles Minor, Carter Woods, and Caleb Woods, all of the home, his grandfather, Lawrence Claiborne of Roxborough, North Carolina, and a host of others, additional loving relatives and friends. Both Chad and Jeff died during their ill-fated encounter on Monday morning, August 13th, 2023. Chad Woods Sr. was soon arrested and charged with second-degree murder, vehicle theft, and the illegal possession of a firearm, and held under $500,000 bond. There haven't yet been any further updates, but Woods is sure to stand trial and will very likely be convicted of murder and spend years in prison. This is right. As much as we can empathize with him over the loss of his child, we cannot condone this type of revenge, be it premeditated or committed as a crime of passion. As tragic as this situation is for everyone involved, as much as I disdain our punitive criminal justice system, we cannot allow anyone to get away with murder or violence against others. This we know. Less than 2 months ago, less than 2 months after this incident on October 7th, 2023, Hamas led a surprise attack against Israel, launching thousands of rockets, targeting it even as nearly 3,000 militants broke through the barrier between Israel and Gaza and began brutally attacking Israelis on the streets and in their homes. The stories of cruelty, sadism, and the sinister disregard for human life they committed are horrifying. Nearly 1,200 Israelis were murdered during that onslaught. Most of them were civilians, along with the capture of more than 250 Israeli hostages. For those of us who are familiar with the plight of the Palestinian people, we can empathize with those who feel angry and vengeful enough to lash out, people trapped behind a wall, living for more than a decade under a blockade of the goods necessary for them to live. We can understand why they would be angry watching so many of their own children being arrested and indefinitely imprisoned without ever being charged or given a chance to prove their innocence. We can understand the outrage as they watch the continued incursion onto their lands and the increase of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. But we cannot condone the violence and sadistic inhumanity that occurred on October 7th, any more than we can condone the revenge killing committed in the heat of passion by Chad Wood. But given the terror of the initial reports, we can also understand why Israel had to act. We may even understand why its response was a violent one. But to date, nearly 25,000 Palestinians are reported to have been killed by Israel's indiscriminate bombing of Gaza, most of whom were civilians, including 10,000 children, more than 10,000 children. The response has further led to the displacement of more than 2 million Gazans, to critical shortages of clean water, food, fuel, medicine, and even access to medical care, along with power and communications blackouts and warnings now of a coming famine. The cruel and inhumane response by Israel cannot be condoned. Not any more than the Hamas attacks can be justified, nor the murder of Jeffrey McKay by Chad Woods. The United Nations Human Rights Council has determined that there is clear evidence that war crimes have been committed in the latest explosion of violence in Israel and Gaza, and all those who have violated international law, it says, and targeted civilians must be held accountable. Israel has been accused of committing war crimes, including genocide, by several organizations and has for decades, and is now being investigated by the International Criminal Court. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has since denied the charges and accused the ICC of anti-Semitism for its investigation. On September 11th, 2001, 19 Islamic terrorists, members of the Al-Qaeda terrorist group, hijacked 3 airplanes full of passengers and used them in suicide missions against targets in Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and New York, including, of course, the World Trade Center, causing those buildings to collapse and the deaths of more than 3,000 innocent people altogether. I don't know the reasons why this happened, and I cannot empathize with those responsible. But I can empathize with the millions of people around the world who have suffered and continue to suffer the deadly consequences of my country's inhumane response. First came the invasion of Afghanistan only a month later. The aim of Operation Enduring Freedom, as it was euphemistically called, was to dismantle al-Qaeda and remove the Taliban regime believed to have been harbored there. Although of the 19 hijackers, 15 were citizens of Saudi Arabia, 2 were from the United Arab Emirates, 1 from Egypt, and 1 from Lebanon, none from Afghanistan. Yet the U.S. military maintained a presence in Afghanistan for 20 years, making it America's longest war in history, if we don't count the drug war against its own citizens, which is really the longest, deadliest, and most expensive. When it finally withdrew in 2021, the Taliban that the war was supposed to have eradicated immediately regained control of the devastated nation, devastated for 20 years. Yet estimates suggest that over 170,000 people were killed during that war, including tens of thousands of Afghan civilians. That's 170,000 in response to the evils of 19 terrorists. But the response didn't end there, of course. In 2003, the U.S. launched another major military operation invading Iraq under the pretext of dismantling weapons of mass destruction, which were never found and never existed, and overthrowing Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein's regime, even though Iraq had absolutely nothing to do with what happened on 9/11. This war, which officially ended in 2011 with the withdrawal of the American combat troops, led to significant political and social upheaval in the region and to civilian deaths estimated to range between hundreds of thousands to over 1 million people, the exact number being impossible to know. People who lived in neighborhoods and wear sneakers and t-shirts just like most everybody else on the planet these days. Gone. These 3 stories, the murder of Jeff McKay by Chad Woods, Israel's response to Hamas, and the U.S.'s response to the terrorist attacks of 9/11 are all similar in that they were and are, in the case of Israel, quite literally overkill. The difference is that Chad Woods will be prosecuted and probably go to prison for the murder of one man. The U.S. has suffered no legal consequences for its callous disregard of human life, except another blood stain on the soul of our nation, if anybody cares about that. We'll see what the consequences are that Israel might face for its war crimes, but I doubt that there will be any. So I've begun my discussion of the war between Israel and Hamas in this way because I don't wish to go into the long and controversial history of the unending conflict in the Middle East. Trying to explain it is but another attempt to try to determine who's at fault. Like children fighting on the playground, those involved like to point the finger and say, he started it. No, he started it. It doesn't matter who started it. Right? That's what the adults say. That's what the teachers say. It doesn't matter I don't care who started it. Because what matters are the people who get hurt. What matters are the innocent people who suffer the terrible consequences of such behavior. I've spoken about these ongoing hostilities in the past, attempting to sort out what is and isn't true, and I've always gotten myself into trouble by those on Israel's side. And I've sometimes gotten myself into trouble for not saying more about the matter by those on the side of the Palestinians. It is admittedly an issue that I prefer to avoid, so the latter complaint is somewhat justified. But given the latest and egregious violence now occurring, I have an ethical responsibility to address this matter before you. Good people cannot remain silent when thousands of innocents are suffering and dying. In fact, I've held off a little longer than I should have, but I wanted to get our new year started off on a positive note by focusing the past 3 Sundays on all of the good things happening in our world. And I did this so that we can be better psychologically and emotionally prepared with hope and the belief in possibility as we face the many challenges before us. But today is the day that I must speak about unspeakable things. They are unspeakable because they are almost too tragic to talk about. And they are unspeakable because there is always tremendous pressure in the West not to criticize Israel for anything. And that pressure usually comes in the form of accusations of anti-Semitism, as Karen said earlier. The first time I spoke on this matter was more than 20 years ago, early in my Unitarian ministry, after I'd been studying the matter just for my own personal edification and wanted to share it naturally with my congregation. I was still naive enough about it that I did not expect the pushback that I'd receive. One of the strongest responses was from my own mentor, Phil Smith, and his wife Sharon, both of whom were also good friends. And I was surprised by their reaction, as well as that from others, because the concerns I brought up regarding the suffering of innocent Palestinians seemed incontrovertible. And I couldn't imagine intelligent, caring people be anything less than sympathetic about their plight. Their reasons for arguing otherwise weren't grounded in anything, any reasons really, but their emotional affections for Israel. Not that I'd said anything negative about Israel. In fact, I spent a great deal of time empathizing with the Jewish people and their difficult history during my address. But it became a topic that the Smiths and I politely agreed not to discuss. But a few years later, a group of prominent activists in Louisville, Kentucky, where I was minister, made a trip to visit the Palestinians and to bear witness to what was going on for themselves firsthand. And upon their return, they needed a place to share what they had seen and learned, including photographs to verify their accounts. And I agreed to let them use our church and our space, and to even let them lead a Sunday service. I again offended my dear friends, Phil and Sharon, even though by then they had retired and moved to another state and weren't there for the service. But this time, I didn't let up. I said what I believed is true, and I offered a few photos of my own, showing the bodies of dead children buried beneath the rubbles of their homes. That ended the conversation, but fortunately not our close friendship. But the topic just became one of those unspeakable things between us. During my years serving as your minister here in Spokane, I haven't addressed the matter much, although other people more knowledgeable than me with it, who've had firsthand experience, have. One of them was the late and wonderful Myrta Ladich, who made a trip to the region and came back ready to talk about the horrors and injustices that she saw. Sometime later, I was asked by PJAWS, the Peace Justice Action League of Spokane, to speak at an End These Endless Wars rally downtown during a time when there was a lot going on in the world, including another violent conflict in the Middle East, to which I agreed. I was surprised to get a phone call, I think it was the morning of, from a local rabbi, telling me PJAWS is an anti-Semitic organization, and that the rally was just another of its attempts to attack Israel. So I called the director of PJAWS to confirm the event was about ending all wars, not only what is happening in the Middle East at the time, which surely would be mentioned, and was assured my understanding was correct. So I called the rabbi and explained as much, but was told that if you attend, there's going to be a problem. And there was. My relationship with the rabbi has never been the same and became non-existent just a few years later after I organized the screening of the 2016 documentary, The Occupation of the American Mind, about the reluctance and failure of American mainstream news media to address the plight of the Palestinians. I received another phone call from the rabbi letting me know that the film is anti-Semitic and full of anti-Semitic tropes. I watched it a few times and I disagreed, but invited the rabbi to help our community figure out the best way to discuss the truth of what's happening to the Palestinians in a way that does not offend the members of our Jewish community. Although the rabbi agreed that at the very least it is true to say the Palestinians are getting a raw deal, I was told that's not going to happen. The only choice I was given was to consider the topic taboo, an unspeakable thing. But instead of inviting the greater Spokane community to the screening of that documentary, I invited another rabbi to come to Spokane to talk about the matter, Rabbi Michael Davis. Rabbi Davis, who was born in Israel and served in its army, empathizes with the Palestinian people and isn't afraid to talk about it honestly and publicly. By the way, he's gotten a lot of backlash since he was here. I stay in touch with him. He's a wonderfully brave man, and I'm sorry for the trouble that coming here has caused him. He came to our church actually and spoke here in 2019 the day after I'd been publicly censured by the UU Ministers Association for being, in their terms, a racist, homophobic, transphobic, ableist classist. And the day after my name appeared on the watch list of an alt-right conservative as one of the most dangerous liberals in Spokane. You can't win with these people. And the day before, I would be forever labeled anti-Semitic by many in our local Jewish community. The message to me and to anyone aware of what happened is that this topic is off limits. It is an unspeakable thing, and if you do talk about it, there's going to be a problem. Again, I've spent most of my time this morning telling stories rather than sorting out the complicated facts about this. And this is largely so because the facts of the matter are so easily dismissed, especially these days when logic and facts are regularly denied, causing many of us to question reality itself. Nowadays, these tactics are referred to as gaslighting, using psychologically manipulative strategies to make us feel that what we're seeing is not what we're seeing, to what we understand is not what we understand. It's anti-Semitic to question Israel's tactic. It's anti-Semitic to talk about what's happening to the Palestinians. Why are you talking about this now when there are so many other problems in the world? You must be anti-Semitic. Remember what happened during the Holocaust? How dare you criticize Israel, anti-Semite? Here's what I know is true. Criticizing the Israeli government for some of its policies and actions toward the Palestinian people does not deny the Holocaust, which remains among the most sinister, deadly, disturbing, and unforgivable events in human history. Criticizing the Israeli government for its indiscriminate killing, crippling, maiming, starvation, and further suffering of millions of innocent Palestinians does not mean that I am not equally as disturbed by the brutality and inhumanity of those horrific Hamas attacks on October 7th. It is possible to hold both of these truths. Nor does speaking against some of Israel's actions mean that I agree with those protesters who now blame Israel for those very attacks, justifying the sickening cruelties of the Hamas attackers who are responsible. Speaking against Israel's actions does not make me or anyone else anti-Semitic. No more than speaking out against and actively protesting the U.S. wars in Afghanistan and Iraq made me unpatriotic or un-American. What I know is that indiscriminately killing Palestinians, as well as Israeli hostages, then blaming Hamas for using them as human shields, is the worst kind of gaslighting. Those who pull the trigger, no matter the circumstances, bear the brunt of the blame. And I know that thousands of innocent human beings, thousands of children are now dead, and thousands of others injured in a variety of ways, and millions displaced and hungry and thirsty with nowhere to turn for help or for cover. That's true. People. I don't have to put any adjectives before that. Human beings. As a liberal and a Unitarian I believe in our common humanity and in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, every Jewish person, and every Palestinian person, and every Afghani person, and every Iraqi person, and every other kind of person. So why is it we will arrest, convict, sentence an individual for the murder of one person, no matter the circumstances, but keep quiet when nations murder hundreds of thousands or more? Until, for this very reason, we are able to make war itself a crime, to make war itself illegal, the world must continue to insist that all governments, at the very least, adhere to the rules of engagement that have been agreed upon, including those prohibiting the indiscriminate killing, abuse, and neglect of civilians and innocent people. And we must hold every nation that commits war crimes accountable for its actions just as surely as Chad Woods will be held accountable for his crime. Until, as one of our hymns says, there is peace for us and everyone, we will say one more word till every word is heard by everyone. Until that day comes, amidst the gaslighting and the ad hominem attacks, we must remain brave enough to continue speaking about unspeakable things. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand and join me for When Our Heart Is in a Holy Place in the Teal Hymnal, number 1008. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each other of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, that our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, that our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of a sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
As we depart today, I leave you with the words of Professor Rashid Khalidi, who urges a new solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Only a path based on equality and justice is capable of concluding the 100 Years' War on Palestine with a lasting peace. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.